Welcome to Chris VV Journey, where I take you on a trip to VV, always as an adventurer, never as a financial advisor. So please invest with caution. Today I want to do two things. First of all, I want to go through all the news we have. There's quite some news going on right now. And second thing I want to do is talk to you about all the comic books we already have in VV and give you a little bit of background and history to those books and talk a little bit about it so you might get an idea if you rather invest more into it or maybe just sell it, or maybe, I don't know, you're just interested in learning about the comic art. So let's start right away because this is going to take some time. So first of all, the drop is going to be tomorrow at 8 a.m. for Americans. ASM, Amazing Spider-Man 361, First Ebb of Carnage. Uh, yeah, drops right now. Drops all seem to be financially pleasing. Like there's not one drop lately that if you get something in the drop, you usually have a profit out of it. So never would advise someone to do it, but if you think it's a good idea, I do think it's a good idea too. Um, so we have two drops also about 007. Yes, that's what you see here on the display. The first drop will be two posters that VV will release on October 1st. It's not my kind of thing, to be honest. The design is neat and all, but not something I would need. I will be participating in the drop, of course, because if I can get something of that, that would mean I can sell it and buy something I really want. They also announced this 3D model. Um, as far as I remember, it's a mask the villain of the movie is going to wear. It's really cool. I really like the model. I think it looks pretty great. Um, Definitely going to be at the drop, and if I get it, I'm not even sure if I would sell it. I think it's really, really cool. So next thing, oops, wrong move. Yeah, Frank Kozik is also releasing Level 2 on Saturday. So if that's your thing, you can also participate. Like I said, with all things, I will participate. And just in case if I get it, I most likely will sell it right away and get something, I don't know, a comic book or whatever. But definitely interesting. So Saturday is the day to participate in the drop. Also, we have news that at the Comic-Con week, we will have 5 comics being released. Um, that is awesome. And along with the comics, we will also have a few other collectibles that's going to be released. Most likely, Edo will be one of those releases because the season is almost over and Edo is going to be a season 2 piece, so they kind of have to release him really soon. Also, the Thursday comic is a timely comic. I thought it would mean it would be a new modern comic, but thinking about a timely comic most likely will mean it's a comic book from Marvel because before it was called Marvel, before they changed the name to Marvel and rebranded the whole thing, it was called Timely Comics. So yeah, I guess it's some of those. Maybe it's a Marvel mystery comic. Yeah, that will be pretty interesting. So let's switch to the comic books. That was all the news. And yeah, we can stay on subject with Timely Comics because the first comic book we want to talk about, of course, is Marvel Comics 1, the one that was released first. Only issue 1 is called Marvel Comics. The second issue already is called Marvel Mystery Comics. And that's why I think that one of the comics on Thursday that was called the Timely comic will be one of those. Um, you have to understand Marvel Comics 1, it's called Marvel Comics, but the publishing company was called Timely. It was called Timely Comics, and they later rebranded to Marvel. And yeah, this book, of course, it's super special. It's the first NFT. It's also a Marvel Comics 1. This will always be special. If you own one of those, you're lucky. I got um, the uncommon in my collection. It was the only one I could afford at the time, and I'm happy that I was able to get at least that one. I would love to have a rare or even an ultra rare, but those are so expensive right now. But if you can afford it, get it. I think also the comments are very interesting from this book, because demand will be pretty high on those books. It has an edition number of 60,000, but I'm sure this is no problem with this book. Everyone wants a piece of the first thing that was released. Yeah, talking about numbers, the 9.4 sold for 1.26 million at the end of 2019. So this is in real life one of the most expensive books you can actually find. It's from 1939. Finding a 9.4 had to be like almost impossible, but someone has it, and that's why it costs over $1 million. So yeah, also interesting about the book, there's a bunch of first appearances, like Human Torch, which is not the Human Torch you know from Fantastic Four. It's a different character, but it's still Human Torch. Namor, he's like the Aquaman of Marvel, has also a second appearance, not the first appearance. A few other characters, and the first run of this book had edition size of 80,000 pieces. And then they made a second one with 800,000 pieces because demand was so high. So a book that sold for 1 million is always one of those 80,000, not of the 800,000. So this comic, like I said, it's super special because it's historically super special, and it's super special because it's the first NFT that was released. I don't think you can go wrong. I mean, the super rare price is extremely high with 50K, I guess, right now. So that's super expensive. I don't think it's too expensive. I think those prices in time will be cheap, but we'll have to see. Like, you can't compare the comic books one-on-one with the physical comic books. It's still an NFT. It's still a thing on its own. It just helps to know the history of those books. So let's go to the second one, Journey into Mystery 85. The first appearance of Loki, first appearance of Balder, first appearance of Heimdall. Heimdall was the guy played by Idris Elba in the MCU. Tyr, the Norse god of war, first cameo appearance of Odin the Allfather, and third appearance of Thor. So this book is super special. It's not as expensive so far because we had one in a 9.6 sold for 53,000. That's one of the all-time highs. But we have to take into account this is a really, really special book. This is an old book from 62. It has a lot of history, and it even has a lot of buzz right now because of the Loki show, and there will be a next Thor movie. So I think personally it's still a bit undervalued, even if you take in consideration that the 9.6 sold for just 53,000. I still think it's a little bit undervalued, even if you say it's the second release, like it's a second comic book that was released as an NFT. All those things I consider the current prices and the value, but maybe not by much. So let's switch over to Fantastic Four 1. That is actually the first appearance of Marvel's first family, the Fantastic Four. This book is full of history. It's written by Stan Lee. The artist was Jack Kirby, one of the most iconic artists there is. It's the first appearance, of course, of Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, Human Torch, The Thing, Mole Man. There will be a movie. Kevin Feige, the guy from Marvel, already said that there is a movie in development. A 9.8 sale of this book went for $270,000. Like, to me, this book is also no-brainer. I mean, the first three books are no-brainer, but that one is also a book where I don't understand why the value is not as high as some other books. I would definitely go for this. Like, the first three, all of those are no-brainers. If you get a chance to grab something from that, I think it's a great idea. Decide on your own. I'm just the adventurer, not the financial advisor, but it's an awesome book. I only got the uncommon, and I think if I have a chance, I will go for the rare still. yeah, so much for the Fantastic Four. Next book is New Mutants 98. So this is a book I don't have any variant of, and I'm not sure if I'm going to buy one. So that book actually is the first appearance of Deadpool. Deadpool is a really, really known character even outside of comics, but he's not as much loved in the comic community. I mean, of course, he has a big, big fan base. I'm not debating that. But the book itself, it's a book from the 90s. So every book from the 90s had a big edition size. So they're usually not very expensive because of all the media hype. This is a little exception because the 9.8, the regular 9.8 has a price above $1,500, while the newsstand edition, if you watched my previous video, I already told you that the newsstand editions, the one that were sold on the street, those have typically just 20% of the edition size of the direct copy edition. So that even goes for well over 3K. But as an NFT, I mean, it's just it's a fourth NFT that makes it special too. Um, I don't know. Like for me personally, it doesn't speak to me. I rather invest in the 3 books that came before and some books after it. But I'm not sure if it's not also undervalued because the NFT collectors are not the same as the comic collectors. And a lot of NFT collectors will love Deadpool even if they are not into comics that much. So I think there is a possibility that if we get more people into VeVe, that this book will rise in price pretty much. So yeah, you can take this info and do what you want with it. So next up, House of X 1. So House of X is a hot book from 2019. It's pretty great. It's written by Jonathan Hickman. If you're interested to get into comics, I can tell you that this book, if you get the paperback, it has a story of House of X and Powers of 10, where 10 is written with an X also. That was those 2 books. It was 6 House of X books and 6 Powers of 10 books, and those 12 issues make one story. It's a great story. I don't think it was handled well after that, but it created a new status quo for the X-Men. It's a great story. I can really say you don't do anything wrong if you want to read it. But having said that, House of X and Powers of 10, there's not much going for it otherwise. It's too new to be special. It's not a scarce book. You can get this book for a few dollars. And like I said, the story itself is great, but it's not yet history because it's still too new. And also, it wasn't handled that well after this initial 12 issues. So what's really interesting with this book is that the super rare is actually the variant edition made by Mark Brooks, which is a connecting cover. If you have House of X issue 1 and Powers of 10 issue 1, then these covers can be connected and they make up one image. So there's a possibility that VeVe will release the Powers of 10 book, and the secret rare there is also the Mark Brooks variant. It would be super awesome if you own both of them so that you have the connecting cover, but it is also for a lot of people almost impossible to get because the secret rare is simply the most expensive one, and most likely no one is lucky enough to pull both secret rares. So yeah, that's a tough thing to collect. Personally, I don't have any of those issues in my collection. When these were released, I wasn't on VeVe yet, and I don't intend to buy a common, uncommon, or whatever. I'd rather invest in some of the other books. I mean, the CGC 9.8 of the Mark Brooks variant is just $150 on eBay. So yeah, I don't see where the growth in that book should be in the future. So next up is Amazing Spider-Man 1. This book is completely different. I mean, it's Amazing Spider-Man 1. It's the first comic series from Spider-Man. It's not his first appearance. His first appearance is Amazing Fantasy 15. If that ever hits VeVe, try to get it. Like, this is that's a no-brainer. You need to get this book if they have it on the site. But for now, I guess Amazing Spider-Man is the best Spider-Man book they have. It's, I mean, aside from that, they only have the What If book with Spider-Man. But Spider-Man is a fan favorite. Spider-Man is a current movie in the MCU. In December, it will hit the theaters. Um, it's the first meeting of Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four. It's the first appearance of Chameleon, first appearance of J. Jonah Jameson. It's a super expensive book if you have it in a high grade. It's a no-brainer. Like this book, I made the most profit on this book, and I also told a friend he has to buy it. He also made a big profit on this book. It was a no-brainer. I'm lucky. I can't believe I was lucky enough that I was able to still afford the ultra rare. So I had all grades from this book. I had the common, the uncommon, the rare, and the ultra rare. I did sell the rare to get my Todd Batman, but yeah, the other three I won't sell, and if I can, I will buy the rare back at one point. Yeah, it's always a fan favorite. This is like a safe bet. This book is like a safe bet. Even if Amazing Fantasy 15 will be released on VV, this book will always be special. Which brings us to Hulk Future Imperfect 1. In my opinion, this book is not special at all. It's the first appearance of Maestro. He's a Hulk version from the future. He's pretty cool because he has a cool beard, but that is all. That's everything I can say about this book. It's pretty cheap, not expensive in real life. It's the story is okay, maybe good, but nothing special there. It's also from 1992, which is the 90s, where you had way too many comic books that were printed. Yeah, has nothing going for it. I didn't buy anything of it, and I don't intend to buy anything from it. I mean, I get it if you're at a point where you have already collected most books, then I would also go for one of the Hulk books, of course. I mean, it's the first appearance of Hulk comic book on VV. That's maybe the only thing you can say about it, but it's just not interesting enough for me. For me personally, it's not a thing. Investment-wise, maybe a good idea, but I don't need to own this. So the next book is What If Spider-Man Joined the Fantastic Four. What If is a series of Marvel comics where they like the current show on Disney Plus, where they show different dimensions where something was switched, something is different. So, but that also means it doesn't affect the main universe. So whatever happens in those books has no ongoing effect in the current timeline. So it's a pretty old book. That's okay. It's about even for an old book from 1977, if you have it in a 9.8 grade, it's still under $1,000, around $850, if I remember correctly at this point. Also a book that I skipped. I was not investing into this. I mean, if I was there for the drop, I would have been at the drop for every book, but it's none of those that I'm looking forward to buying. I would rather buy one of the other books I already talked about before I go with this one. So the next one is Avengers 8 Kang. That book is fire. Like, it's a book from 1964, so it's really hard to get in real life. It's also a book that's hard to get in high grade because of the white background. So it's the first appearance of Kang. Kang is the new villain in the MCU. Like, essentially what Thanos was, that is for the next phase of the MCU, Kang's going to be. The next big villain. Also, the NFT is only 10,000 issues, so it's also hard to get there. Just 10,000 copies, and there was a sale this year for 9.4 for $5,000, and the 9.8 was sold last in 2015 for $76,000. So yeah, there is a lot of value in this book. There's a lot of hype around this book right now. And yeah, it's a no-brainer to get that one. I mean, it's pretty expensive, even in the low areas like common or uncommon. I don't own any of that yet. I hopefully get at least a common. Uncommon would be awesome, to be honest. So that would be great. Really a book I really want to have. I really want to own it and have it in my collection. And yeah, I think also going into the next few years will be great because Kang will be a big character in the MCU. Then next it's Tales of Suspense 52. Tales of Suspense 52 is the first appearance of Black Widow. It's also a book from 1964 again, so it has a lot of history. Aside from that, the last time a 9.6 was sold in 2014 for $15,000. So prices usually at least doubled. So nowadays, I guess realistically 50K easy on this book. But I have to say, personally, I'm not the biggest Black Widow fan. So I do own the Uncommon. I bought the Uncommon because I thought it was around 65, I guess. It's where I bought it, and I thought, okay, that's a pretty good price for the Uncommon, for the edition size, etc. So I went with that one. But again, if I had a little bit more to invest, I'd rather invest in one of the other books. It always depends. I mean, it's a very personal question. Like, I would like to own a piece of every book there is, but yeah, I can't right now, and I'd rather go for an uncommon before buy one or two commons that I don't really, yeah, that I just don't feel like I need to have it. And this is one of those books. I mean, the uncommon spoke to me, so I got it. But if you would invest in just one book, I wouldn't go with this one. I would go with one of the first three books or The Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, then we have not Incredible Hulk, Immortal Hulk. Yeah, so always mixing that one up. Immortal Hulk 1, in my opinion, it's a great story. It's a great read. People love the book, but it's from 2019, if I remember correctly, or was it even 2020? I don't know. Like it's really a new book. There's nothing special about it aside from being a good book. It's also now on VV the second Hulk series that was released. I don't see anything great going for it except like the common cover is Alex Ross art. It's awesome, but it just looks good. It's Hulk. There's really nothing to say. Like if you want the book in physical form, it's pretty cheap. You can get it for a few dollars. Yeah, I actually had the ultra rare. I sold it way too cheap because I was just a few days in. Like it was my first drop, and my first drop was an ultra rare, and I did sell it for 290. You can laugh about that. But I'm not mad. It made me buy something other very cool. So, but aside from that, I don't see the big value in this book, at least not now. I'd rather go with almost every other book instead of that one. So yeah, it was fine for me to sell it. The next one, of course, Captain America, all new Captain America one, first solo series of Sam Wilson as Captain America. This is also a book I love to own the common. That's what I pulled during the drop. I got the common. I love to have it. It's as an NFT interesting because it's the first black superhero as an NFT. Aside from that, the thing with this is it's not the first time that we see Sam Wilson as Captain America. He already was that in Captain America issue 25 before that. And then he got his own series. And I think they brought this into the shop because of the cover. It looks pretty cool, pretty great. But yeah, like before, it's not an old book. It's not something that is sought after in the physical world. So not so much. I don't know. It has a lot of coolness going for it. That's why I love to have the common. I think it's a pretty good looking book. Love to own it, but not something where I would be searching for the super rare or something. So again, do with that information whatever you want. And the last one is Uncanny X-Men 4. Now, this book is super awesome. This has so much going for it. It's the first team appearance of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. It's a team led by Magneto. First appearance of Scarlet Witch. First appearance of Quicksilver. First appearance of Mastermind. First appearance of Toad. Second appearance of Magneto. It's a book from 1964. It's that's kind of like a holy grail for X-Men fans or comic book lovers whatsoever. This book was sold this year for $68,000. I'm not sure in which grade. I wasn't able to find that out, but that's a pretty awesome book. Really fantastic. I just pulled the common, but I'm super happy that I did pull the common. Friend of mine even got the rare. I'm not uh, I'm not jealous of that because I'm not a big fan of Cyclops. I'm sorry, guys. I just don't like the guy, and he's so prominent on the cover of the rare. So I'm pretty happy with my common. Um, for that book, even if it's one of the latest books that were released, I see a lot of growth in that because it's just for really comic book collectors. It's awesome. Like if you ask them, do they want Captain America 1, Immortal Hulk, Tales of Suspense, or X-Men 4? 90% will say X-Men 4. Like that's the book. That's the one to get. That's it has so much going for it. This is awesome. So yeah, so that was all the books that have released so far until today when the amazing Spider-Man 361 releases. I'm really looking forward to that one. I'm so excited to see how the price is developing on that book. Like I showed it you in my last video and told you my 9.0 is worth $300. Now a guy told me today he saw it for 200 go. So yeah, it's the physical copy seems to get cheaper right now because it's just before the movie, so the speculations ended, and now it's just the comic lovers that actually buy the book. Um, we will see if the movie itself can change that, if the movie is great enough that we see a little bit more movement on that comic book. Um, in general, I still love the book. I don't care about the value that much. It's one of my favorite characters in Marvel Comics, so I love to have it. But I'm really excited to see how well it does on VV, how much love it will get. And yeah, with that, I'll end the video for today. If you're still here, if you watched all of this, thank you so much for your attention. If you like, leave a like and subscribe would be awesome. And you will hear from me tomorrow again. See you guys, and good luck with the drop.